Hello beautiful people. In this video I want to bring up some of the things I wish would be changed or introduced in War Thunder. Now I basically only play World War II and some Cold War vehicle content and almost now exclusively in ground realistic battle, so the majority of the wish list will be that in mind. And by the way, my wishes are in no particular order. I wish that all T-34s with a 2-man turret crew would have the reload increased with around 2 seconds. Now Guardian has, in my opinion, not done enough to realistically depict a very important factor for tanks, namely the air quotes, soft values in a vehicle, here mostly referring to crew ergonomics and comfort. These factors directly link to how effective a crew can perform tasks, including reloading the weapon systems in a tank. The way Guardian has decided to portray the T-34 overall is pretty ridiculous in my opinion. Very effective armor, combined with a high degree of mobility and good firepower. Now Guardian would never change any of the mentioned values to balance the T-34, so the only way to balance it just a little is to increase the reloading of the main gun. Now War Thunder is supposed to be realistic to some degree, which it is, but something as obvious as a missing crew member dedicated to reloading the main gun does not impact the reloading on the T-34 nearly enough. The base reloading time for the battle rating 3.3 Sherman, for instance, is 6.5 seconds, and the Sherman has a dedicated crew member for reloading and a turret basket. The base reloading time for the battle rating 3.3 Panzer IV F2 is 7.67 seconds, and the Panzer IV also has a dedicated crew member for reloading and a turret basket. The base reloading time for the battle rating 3.3 T-34 1940 model is 9.23 seconds, and the T-34 has no dedicated crew member for reloading and there is no turret basket. So the T-34 is close to 3 seconds slower than the Sherman and 1.5 seconds slower than the Panzer IV. In my opinion, that is just not good enough. The commander of the T-34 has all his command duties, and he also has to act as a loader. He has to stop his observations of the battlefield and directing the tank crew, to roam around under the floor of the tank, to retrieve shells and reloading the main gun and coaxial weapon. He is tasked to the maximum. Now the T-34 family of tanks are so strong and easy to play that the numbers just don't add up. So please increase the time it takes to reload the main gun of the T-34, just to bring it down a notch. Next on my wish list is the removal of the APCR shell for the Sherman tanks using the M3 cannon, and especially on the Sherman Jumbo. For all what I have read, the APCR shell was experimental only and was never issued to any units during World War II. Now speaking of the Jumbo Sherman also seems to be much too agile for its weight. So I wish for the removal of the APCR T-34 shell for all Shermans using the M3 gun and decrease the agility of the Sherman Jumbo. With those changes I would also wish for the Jumbo to go down to battle rating 5.3. I think we can all agree on the current state of CAS, close air support in War Thunder is, what is the scientific word for it? Oh yeah, retarded.
What, are you retarded?
We have seen more and more secondary ordnance being added to aircraft. Now I don't necessarily wish for bombs to be removed again, but I do wish that the spawn cost of bombs, especially bombs larger than 250 pounds or 100 kilograms, to be increased by a lot. It should not be so cheap to spawn in a fully bombed and rocket-laden P-47 or equivalent from other nations. I also wish for that all aircraft, bomber aircraft excluded, carrying bombs larger than 100 kilograms or 250 pounds would need to take off from the airfields in mixed battles. This would firstly prevent fast revenge bombing, the brain-dead Stuka revenge bombing excluded, but also make it more difficult and increase the time to drop bombs on ground vehicles and make the aircraft more vulnerable to aircraft already at altitude. at the ridiculous battle rating of 7.7 for the Tu-4 and 7.0 for the B-29, we have two big old prop bombers. Now the only reason for the bombers to stay at those battle ratings is if Gaijin gives them the leading reticle as seen in arcade and for aircraft with ballistic computer. What Gaijin does not understand, ignore or just don't care about is the fact that the B-29 and the Soviet copycat Tu-4 had very sophisticated mechanical computers for the gunners. The computers took in account for leak corrections, parallax and ballistic corrections including barometric altitude, indicated airspeed and even temperature. According to the US Army Air Force Statistical Digest from 1945, there were 74 documented losses of B-29 bombers due to enemy fighters in the Pacific Theater during World War II, and the B-29 gunners had a total of 969 confirmed enemy aircraft kills. That is a 13-to-1 kill ratio for the B-29 bomber. Now you do not shoot down almost 1,000 enemy fighter aircraft with just aiming the turrets with eyeball Mark 1. The two bombers at the current battle rating almost exclusively meet jets, which granted would tag the mechanical ballistic computer, but the bombers cannot run away from said jets, so at the very least give them back their historical ability to defend themselves from them. Next on my wish list is a complete overhaul of the flight characteristics and model for all Focke-Wulf 190s. The in-game performance of the Focke-Wulf 190 is in my opinion just awful and far removed from its historical performance. In real life, the Focke-Wulf 190 excelled in low to medium altitude, had good energy retention and maneuverability better than the Me-109s. So basically completely opposite of how it behaves in War Thunder. Furthermore, the Focke-Wulf 190s were used as fighter bombers and ground attackers pretty effectively, but in War Thunder they are awful in those roles. Because of its butchered flight envelope, it is quite hard to even fly in a straight line with a Focke-Wulf 190 in a bombing run, and you need an excessively long approach in order to just be able to fly in a said straight line, trying to drop a bomb, instead of sliding through the air. In pure aircraft battles and mixed battles, aircraft always end up below 2,000 meters, and the Focke-Wulf 190 is more or less useless in that environment, except in the hands of an experienced player. If you do not stick to a very restrictive way of using the Focke-Wulf 190, the average player is basically dead as soon as he spawns in. He just does not know it. The reason I use the Focke-Wulf 190s is because I like how they look, and my made up minigame with scoring tank kills with the 50 kilogram bombs with the aircraft. But Gaijin, please fix the Focke-Wulf 190s, it is badly needed. Of course I can't make a video about what I wish for and not put the Yak-9K, the Tisma and the Su-8 on the list. Now I have no idea why Gaijin thought that it would be a great idea to add an APAC shell to the 45mm cannon those aircraft can use. The solid shot for the 45mm cannon all three aircraft already had could still penetrate magical 48mm of armor at 500 meters. So why even introduce an APAC shell to an already powerful cannon? It does not matter if it existed or not, it should never have been added. So what was Gaijin's answer to the crazy statistics that started to pour in after the APAC shell was added? They increased the battle rating in mixed battles to now 4.7 for the Yak-9K and the Tisma. But here's the kicker. The increase in battle rating solves absolutely nothing. The only solution is to remove the shell. It is really that simple. Just get rid of it. Some years back, Italy received the Sagittario II jet. The jet came with a ground build for its 30mm cannon, which could overpower every ground vehicle with an armor pin of 65mm at 500 meters. So what did Gaijin do then? They could have just nerfed the armor penetration some, but instead they completely removed the ground build after only a few weeks' time. Funnily enough, they recently reintroduced a ground build for the jet, but it's a mere shadow from the previous shell with just 24mm of armor pin at 500 meters. So why not do the same thing with the APC shell for the 45mm cannon? And now I'm putting on my tinfoil hat. I seriously think it's because it's Russian. They're just not gonna remove it, it's here to stay. I just really hope I'm wrong, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But for now we just have to accept this blatant Russian bias and suffer through it. Next on my wish list is something that has baffled me ever since I first started playing War Thunder. Why does the German Stu-42G and the Stu-3G have a gun shield for a top-mounted light machine gun, but no light machine gun? The vehicles have been in the game for a decade now, 10 bloody years, and they still have not received a light machine gun. Now if somebody is going to tell me that is due to balancing, I'm going to fart in their general direction. So Gaijin, for fuck's sake, just get the light machine guns added please. Oh really? He's still not fucking dead. He's still not dead. He's still not dead.
Haha, no gunner.
Ah, fuck me running. So, I hit a Stuk from behind, right? 3 or 4 times with that fucking solid shot.
Oh, that's a Jagdpanzer 4 behind me. That's bad.
And there was still not enough to kill him. That's just... Last but not least, I wish that the post-spin damage for the British 75mm solid shot used on the Crumbler 5s and Churchill 7s be fixed. The post-spin damage is basically non-existent. The difference between the British 75mm solid shot and the 75mm APHC M61 used in the Shermans is night and day. I have little to no difficulty one-shotting basically anything with the US APHC M61 shell, while it is almost impossible to one-shot a T-34 or KB-1 with the British solid shot. When I actually do pull off a one-shot kill with the British solid shot, I always get surprised, because it is like seeing a unicorn that is purple with Margaret Thatcher on its back. Historically, the 75mm QQF gun was a bought-out British 6-pounder gun. The Brits really wanted a good high-explosive shell, and the high-explosive shell the 6-pounder gun had was just not good enough. So they bought out the 6-pounder gun and made it possible to use ammunition for the US M3 gun used on Shermans. The now British 75mm gun took a hit in armor penetration values compared to the 6-pounder gun, but it was still decent enough. The 75mm high explosive shell was worth the trade. The Brits used solid shot because they were cheaper to make, and the fuse on the American M61 APHC shell were prone to prematurely detonate before fully penetrating armor. So when the Brits received the US-made M61 shell, they removed the explosive filler and instead added some inert material. Testing found out that the solid shot basically had the same post-pen effect on crew and equipment inside a tank than using a shell with an explosive filler anyhow. So Gaijin, please fix the post-pen damage of that shell. You can even make it easier on yourself and just make it identical to the M61 APAC shell. Thank you. Okay, so I think that was about it for this video. Now I do have a lot of other things on my wish list, but I think this will be for another video on the same topic down the line. Thanks for watching, and remember to deploy your die brakes. Have a good one.